Hey, this is Chris. Keeping it real, facts over fear. I've redone my spreadsheet, reorganized it so at least I can read it. This is just a daily tracking thing that I do. Get my data from North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, and some of it off of WRAL. The rest of it is all derived. So I've got the raw daily data, which is just whatever's reported that day to Health and Human Services. And we've got running totals of raw data, so we're just adding. Every day there's more tests, there's more cases, and this is all additive. Then you have 7-day rolling averages, which are good because it gives you a better idea of what's really going on. Because as we've talked about before, local health departments and other places that do testing don't always report the tests on the same day they do them. And sometimes there's lag. I call it the Friday-Saturday dump syndrome, because you can tell by looking at the graphs of the raw daily data that Friday and Saturday seems to be the day when everybody reports it. Like some people just must report once a week. And so a 7-day rolling average makes things a lot easier to look at on a graph. Then of course we have some derived data and percentages, and that's what I want to talk about a little bit today. And I also have my last thing here, which is herd immunity, looking at the net free of COVID cases, which is the number of people who have recovered plus the number of people who have died. Antibody free is, according to serological studies, the number of people who have actually been infected is about 9.5 times what the official case number is. And then the T-cell free is, there's some study in Sweden that indicates that even if you don't have antibiotics, you do have a T-cell reaction to the virus, and that number, the number of people who have T-cells, extrapolating from their experimental work, is about 20 times the number of actual cases. And so from that we get our North Carolina herd immunity figure. 70% of the population has to get this virus, and then it will go away, because once you get a virus and get over it, you don't get it again. And that was what was really good to hear from that T-cell study. Because some people weren't testing positive for antibodies, but there were a lot of people who didn't have the antibody but had the T cells, and so which means they are immune. So we have 77 million to herd immunity, and we go down here to when was that? Yesterday, on August 8th, we have 4.9 million people to go before we get to herd immunity. So we are about not quite a third of the way there to herd immunity in North Carolina, but that's good news considering the death rate has been so low thus far. Now this graph, some COVID-19 percentages, they're all taken directly from the derived data percentages here, so everything is being generated in the spreadsheet, and then I just make a graph out of it. I learned how to do that the other day. It's pretty cool. So we have the blue line is the number of new cases as a percentage of the number of tests, so we can see how that's been running. And these are all derived from 7-day running averages, which is why they're rather smooth. I did it by the raw data, and they were just jumping all over the place. So doing a 7-day rolling average for these calculations just makes everything a lot easier to see. So we can see that new cases divided as a percentage of the number of tests peaked in April, and that's probably, and I think I've talked about this a little bit before, this is probably it's when the disease first got here, and the congregate living settings were especially hard hit. Hospitalizations as a percentage of the number of cases. So this line here, when it says 35%, it's actually 35% of whatever this number right here is. It's a percentage of that percentage. And then of course the deaths as a percentage of hospitalization is a percentage of the green line is a percentage of the yellow line, if you can follow that. And then I just did a direct comparison, the number of deaths per confirmed case. And so we can see that, now this is for confirmed cases, not for the herd immunity figure. Obviously it would be 20 times less. We'll see how that figure works out. in the coming months. But so the number of deaths per confirmed case has peaked also in April, and has steadily been low. Have a little uptick here, but it just ticked back down. And this curve is despite, well, if you just look at it, everything is more or less trending down. The deaths per hospitalization are trending up a little bit, and hospitalization per case is going up. The other two indicators are even. And I would just point out that North Carolina's mask mandate came into effect on 6/24, which is right here. And so you can see that it has not had much of an effect on anything. And so we all know my perspective on masks, but when you look at some data like this and you see that it really doesn't make a difference, which reinforces in my mind, it reinforces the idea that this is an airborne disease and that cloth masks are pretty much worthless for stopping an airborne disease. So that's why you see these, because every other criteria in North Carolina stayed the same after the 24th. It was just they just added the mask mandate. So nothing's really changed. If anything, the bad indicators are going up just a little bit. So we'll just have to see how. This is why it's important to do a graph of. It's important to do some data work, and actually look at how things are really going instead of just don't depend on the daily news, because they don't cover 1/100th of what you're looking at right here. Let's see what else we got. All the universities are back in full swing. First day of classes at UNC Chapel Hill is today. We will see what happens with these numbers. One of the things that's concerning about colleges coming back is not that only that there are a lot of people in a relatively small area, but there are a lot of people that have moved across country or are coming from other areas of the country. And so to me, that's really a good reason not to reopen universities, but they've gone ahead and done it anyway. And so we will see what happens with these figures, and we will just keep an eye on it. So I'll probably just do this once a week, like on Sunday. And I'll keep this graph, and I'll just put another one down beneath it of the same thing, so you can see how it goes. We'll just see how it goes, okay? If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the section below. Like and subscribe. We appreciate when you do. We'll see you on the next fact-filled video.